So I've had these for a while. I've used them, abused them, and loved them. And so I think it's probably time to do a long-term review and take a look at how they've worn. G'day, welcome back to Bootlosophy, and if we haven't met, my name is Tech. I'm working on Wajak country here in Perth in Western Australia, Kalyakul Wajak Nongabuja. So these are Jim Green's Numzaan boots, and Numzaan means leader in the South African language. They're a bit dusty because I've used them. They're also quite dark. When they first arrived, they weren't as dark as this. But I have looked after them quite well because I use them regularly outdoors. And they've been through, I would say, about 3, maybe 4 mink oil conditioning bouts in the last 2 years. I generally leave them quite abused, but every now and then I'll clean them up, give them a brush, and then I'll oil them. The liquid mink oil has darkened the leathers, but it's also created really quite a good waterproofing element to them. And they've certainly softened the leathers and made it very comfortable, along with my use, of course. As I said, I've had them for about 2 years. And so I think, despite all the scratches and everything, they are relatively unharmed. And I'll tell you how I use them in a minute. With some weird effects like, I think you find that's a little bit more worn out than usual. This heel is a bit more worn out than that heel, and I have no explanation for it. And the middle of that, where the toe is, and the middle of this is a little bit more worn. Not quite sure why when you get to understand how I've used them. So let me first maybe talk about Jim Green, the brand. And rather than going through a whole spiel about the brand, I'm going to insert here a spiel about the brand that I did for an earlier Jim Green video. Jim Green, the company, is based in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. It's named after Jim Green, the frog, that is indigenous to a fly fishing area in that region. The frog is called Sneaky, I don't know why, and is apparently eaten by fish, so it's used as bait by fishermen. Jim Green, the brand, has been around from its Crouch family beginnings a long time, but in its modern iteration traces back to 1992. The brand reputation in South Africa is based on making tough and rugged footwear. I am told that today it's one of South Africa's most well-known local footwear makers and is worn by, amongst others, farmers and bushmen. They take genuine pride in paying their workers a real wage over and above their national minimum wages. And they take pride not only in making their boots locally, but also using local materials from the rubber soles to the uppers leathers. Jim Green are most famous overseas for their African Ranger in a program where they donate 1 pair to an African Parks Ranger for every 10 boot. And they're also very well known for their Razorback boot. So there you go. Let me now talk about the design and construction. So this is quite a tough South African boot. The leather is nothing special, but it's super thick, very durable, very tough, and quite stiff initially. The design is a 6-inch work boot. It has a toe cap, which I'll talk about in a minute. It has a very innovative folded tongue design, which again I'll take you through in a little bit more detail. There's an interesting panel at the top, so it's not just a quarter panel that goes all the way up. They insert this little piece, I guess, for a bit of interest, and then the one piece backstay stops there. So this is almost like a collar that's been stitched on. There are multiple pieces of leather in here, and my understanding is there is a Celastic toe puff, and I think a Celastic heel counter, but otherwise everything is leather. This toe cap is a second piece of leather, so they have a full leather vamp and then they put a second toe cap on there. And the way they've done it is to cut the toe cap so it's not straight across, it's sort of like in a crescent moon. I'm in two minds about that. I'm not a fan of this curve. It just somehow looks a little bit odd. And there are other boots I've seen, particularly brogue cap toes, that have that sort of curve, and I'm in two minds about it. I have to say, though, that Unlike other real cap toes, which have a straight toe cap across, and when you walk, that edge of the toe cap might actually push into the top of your foot, you don't have this in this design at all. It's very comfortable to walk in despite that toe cap. And the toe cap, I can't press it down. It's not just the toe puff, but the leather itself is firm. So it's quite protective. In terms of construction, the stitching and everything is fine, although I did get a comment from somebody that the sole came off. That must have been a tremendous manufacturing fault. I've never had any problems with any of my African Rangers or other Jim Green boots. But the stitching looks pretty good. There's triple stitching across the toe, triple stitching across most of the panels. And this piece of where the eyelets come in is an interesting double fold, because they actually fold in like that. So that protects your feet from all the hardware. And then the tongue itself is a double fold as well. So it comes in and closes up and forms this almost like a hiking boot fold in the front there. I found that keeps a lot of crud and dirt and dust away from the inside of my boot. This is constructed using a stitch down approach. It has I think a composite board midsole, not a real leather midsole, for a variety of different reasons. If you go and look at their website, they will explain why they're using that material. And then on top of that, underneath that, I guess, underneath, they have their own proprietary rubber frog grip outsole, which is in this V-bar shape. I find this rubber outsole really quite comfortable. As you can see, it's quite durable. Not with a lot of heavy use, although I do use this frequently. But there are some odd sort of wear marks. And for some reason, this heel has worn a lot more than this particular heel. And I'm right-footed, it's usually the other way around. Quite strange and quite odd. It's comfortable enough. There is a leather insole on top of the composite midsole, and that is enough to sort of squish down and give you a little bit of shaping of your foot. The leathers are a medium temper. I'm trying to remember, when they first came they might have been quite firm, but they're now a medium temper, so they keep the shape and they're protective around your ankles. So how have they held up? Well, I'll tell you what I used them for. Initially when I got them, I did a lot of hiking in them. Now, these are about 2 years old. A couple of years ago, I did do a lot of hiking in the weekends with my wife. We would go for 4-hour walks through national forests every Saturday. But about a year and a half ago, I got COVID and I never fully recovered my fitness. So it's been a bit of a struggle to go out for these walks. And my wife, after that period, got rheumatoid arthritis and she got atrial fibrillation. So she hasn't been able to exercise very much. Suffice to say, our fitnesses have gone. But what I also used to do when I first got them it was a period where my wife had been renovating her investment properties. So I helped her with them, did a lot of the work myself. We renovated 2 kitchens, 2 different properties. We renovated 1 bathroom. So that involved a lot of demolition. And it also involved getting carpenters to put up stud walls, after which I'd do all the tiling and I'd do the cupboards and cabinets and so on. So a little bit of work in them. Some of the scratches did come from that period with tiles and so on. But for about, I would say, a year now, these have been used almost exclusively as gardening boots. Not heavy gardening. I have a very small external verge on the road where I do a little bit of lawn mowing. I do use edging tools to cut the weeds off the edges of beds and so on. And from time to time, we get delivered a half truck full of mulch, which I get a wheelbarrow out and wheel around and do work like that. From time to time, my wife wants to replace some shrubs. So we have to cut them down, dig them out, open up the hole a bit more and put in a new plant. And that's the sort of thing I do. So it's not very heavy at all, but they're very protective, particularly when you're clumsy and drop tools on your toes. It's never been a problem. So with that borne in mind, Most of this use has been on the soft stuff in the national forests, on sort of muddy tracks and so on. Some of it is in the yard around us, which is concreted, and a lot of it is in the gardening soil. So it hasn't hit a lot of concrete, and therefore you see that it hasn't really scraped off a lot. The other time I used them was to get up on the roof and clean the gutters. That took hours. So I would consider that, would you call that light construction? Certainly at the beginning, but at least light work. I could quite easily wear a pair of Blundstones, but this, despite being heavier, kind of feel like you're protected a bit more. How have they held up then? I think they've held up really well. There are a lot of scratches on the toes, both toes. In one instance, I think it's this one, I got a lot of scratching on the inside of the heel, not from driving as you might think, but from one particular shrub I had to pull out, and there was a lot of digging of the heel in as you tried to hoe out the chisel out almost, the roots, and then a lot of leverage with the toe. Apart from that, the leather has held up well. It's a bit wrinkled, but you'd expect that. There isn't a lot of patina because it is one quite uniform coloured leather. Any patina that comes from it, I think I may have squashed a bit by applying the liquid mink oil on it, but I don't mind because it's not for the patina, it's for protection. So all in all, I think it's held up well. One issue I've had is this one speed hook. It flattened out once when I was up, where was I? I think I was up on the roof and I was kneeling like that, and the pressure of it just pushed that down. So when I got back down on the ground, when I had to wanted to pull the lace out, I had to basically prise it open with a screwdriver and then try and bend it back into shape. So that's one issue I had. The others don't seem to have done too badly. I haven't lost any hardware. They haven't popped out of the leather. I haven't lost any stitching anywhere on the sole construction or on the panels. I do find brushing it to keep it clean, because I've mink oiled it, I guess. I think the original leather was quite a dry, not waxy leather. Because I've mink oiled it, I do find dirt sticks to it a bit more, and I have to be a bit more careful about wiping it with a damp cloth before I start brushing it. But they're gardening work boots. I don't think I have to take care of them like I would a pair of dress shoes. Okay, so in summary, long-term review, 2 years, a little bit longer I think, but 2 years. A lot of light work, gardening, bit of renovation, up on the roof, digging, that sort of thing. They've come out well. They've protected my feet. They've been very comfortable. I can't remember a time where I wore them all day doing stuff and then at the end of the day going, oh wow, that hurt. Can't remember that at all. I think you should go and see the original review. I haven't seen it since it was first put up. And I can't remember what I said about it. But if I'm as impressed now as I was then I get a tick for that original review. Go check it out. So there you go. I hope you like this long-term review. Every now and then I'll pull out a pair of old boots that I have been using quite regularly in the last 4 years since I started the channel, 6 years since I started buying boots. And I will take you through a long-term review just so you can see how I've used them and abused them and what they look like, or not abused them and see what they look like. Don't forget to click on like and subscribe. That really helps me out, so I hope you do it. Thank you very much. Take care of yourselves out there. This is a bit of a crazy world at the moment, so look after yourselves, and I'll see you back here soon.